Okay, maybe I will start with Mr.
Yep.
Lee. You said that you miss this and you regret in a way not having spent more time there. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Well, I don't think it needs any elaboration, but I can tell you why you were not allowed to show this film in Asian Society, Hong Kong, because they have never invited me to any of the events. So it's because of me.
Oh, well, maybe. Maybe.
And I have one criticism of the film, and that is it ended in a very unhappy note. Because I would look at the umbrella movement certainly not as a failure. Now, I know some of the student leaders have said openly it was a failure. But these are young people. They expect to see immediate result. And I've been fighting for so many years. So any movement to me could be a failure. And it's more likely to be a failure than a success. And when you fight for democracy like that, there can be only one success. And nobody knows when it will come. So there's no doubt in my mind that Hong Kong will have democracy, and indeed China will have democracy. The whole world is going in that direction. So even if our country, China, were to be the last one to get there, it will get there. And when you look back, I'm sure the umbrella movement is a very important milestone. So it is certain it cannot be a failure. All right? It's not a success yet. I would like to end in that note.
But I don't think that I said that it's a failure. Or
You
some
didn't.
people imply that, yeah. But I consider a triumph in a way, and that's why I end with Anthony's statement. The point is to become a citizen. And I mean, it is maybe the longest process. And at times I feel, personally I feel, the difficulty to maintain or achieve democracy is the construction of a civil society. And I feel that one of the virtue of Occupy, of the umbrella movement for me, and to be able to have the privilege to make this film, is to witness the emergence of that kind of civic culture. And I think that that's the most important thing, because democracy can decay without being maintained by civil society. And before you have a civil society, maybe democracy cannot really take root. But personally, I feel, after the umbrella movement and looking at Hong Kong, I feel that Hong Kong is so ready for democracy, for direct elections than most of other places that I've seen. I mean, because I do live in the US, and I was answering the New York Times reporter Didi Tatlow's questions the night when the election results were coming in. And so finally I told Didi, I cannot go on. I cannot. I better sleep it off. So I feel that, the emergence of the civil society is very important. And I feel that, with you all, to be in such distinguished company and to be able to make the film, and like Denise and Anthony, I just feel that, I'm so proud of, this assembly of wonderful people in terms of the understanding of what a society means and is supposed to be.
Great. Actually, I would love to hear the reaction of Joshua, Benny, Emily, who have discovered the movie at the same time than we have. And we are 2 years after. It feels like either a very long way. It's no doubt it was a historical moment. How do you look back?
I would say that fight for democracy and freedom is a long-term battle. And while after the end of umbrella movement, in fact, the political system remained unchanged. I just remember in the early of 2015, I felt depressed downheart, and it seems that being one of the icon and representative of the umbrella movement, we can't achieve some of the concrete results. During 2015, I have this kind of idea, but after a year go on, I just remind myself, at least we gain the new generation political awareness, strengthen the civil society, and successfully get the international community to keep their eyes in Hong Kong, and to let people in the world to know that Hong Kongers live in Hong Kong are not only focusing on trading, business, or economic interests. We also deserve and ready to fight for democracy. That's the reflection for me, and also remind me to keep on and to push forward the movement. And I would say that it's also a reason for me to found a political party. Being one of the representative of the umbrella movement recognized by the mainstream media or people on the street, if we, being the student activists, we do nothing after the movement, it seems that we don't have the sense to bear the responsibility. And at least I would say that the election results on this year, September, have implied it's also the victory of the umbrella movement. If 2014 we can't see the, if in 2014 it did not result in the umbrella movement, we can't see the positive impact and how the new generation and the civil society force can enter the institution. 2 years ago, Nathan Law and I are just the student activists. We can just set a tent outside of the government headquarters and legislative council. And 2 years later, Nathan Law can be democratically elected to be legitimized and to enter the legislative council. After the political system remain unchanged, we will keep on and sustain our passion and our courage and fight. And I think it is a really important reflection for me is, if it's a long-term battle, just let us continue to fight, never give up. Because I also share in the documentary, time is on our side. Yeah.
No, to me, a good movie, at least from my own standard, is that it can put me into tears. And that actually happened when I watch the movie, not to the scenes that I see myself. Actually, I don't like to see myself. More is about the scenes of the students. Those the Tom, that boy, showing that kind of determination. I could feel the tears in my eyes. So this must be a good movie. And also, like Batman 1, Batman 2, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, I can be very sure that this is only the one. And there will be two. At least I have Joshua, Nathan joining us here. They will be leading another movement. And that movement, I think you have to prepare for the number 2. And maybe, I think even number 3, we don't know. I think it's the spirit. I think in the movie that you have, in the documentary, you have put it into the documentary. Is the message is that we have to continue our fight. And also, I totally agree with Martin that the umbrella movement surely is not a failure, because we have made a new generation and we have changed the political culture of Hong Kong. I think the documentary reported about long hair occupied Central by one person on the 1st of January 2013. So how many occupy the Central in 2014 September? And so we can see that in the number 2, I think you have to have more cameras to capture all the scenes, because it will be in a much, much bigger scale. And actually, this is something I'm thinking.
You are announcing a very big Occupy Central.
No, I say, no, read carefully what lawyer says. I'm saying I'm thinking.
Well, okay, thank you.
I, of course, would like to thank Evans very much for making such a very powerful documentary about a very important part of contemporary Hong Kong history. And many people have asked me whether that will happen again. Well, you ask yourself. You think it will happen again, and whether people will come and take part. Whether it will happen again or not, it is a very important part of our contemporary history. And of course, I think many people were relieved it did not end up the way like Tiananmen Square, and especially when Beijing leader gave the instruction that there should be no bloodshed. But I have always said I have a lot of time for the courage of the Taiwanese people, and they've got democracy. But it was built on blood, deaths, imprisonment of many Taiwanese people. In Hong Kong, we haven't got that at all. Not that Hong Kong people are not prepared to sacrifice, but it's just not the same way. And I have represented the Hong Kong people for 25 years. I've recently stepped down, and I know my people. They don't want a revolution. They don't even want riots. They don't want bloodshed and slaughter. But they want democracy and human rights and the rule of law. But they soon have to find out, if you really want those things, you may have to pay a very, very heavy price. But I think what Evans has documented is not yet that heavy price. Whether that day will come or not, we don't know. But I always remind myself the saying that the people get the government they deserve. Do we deserve C.Y. Leung? And chances are he's going to have another term. So I think the situation is going to be much harder, and you may have to come back and do more. But we Hong Kong people, I think we are going to do something that we can be proud of, not just now, but for the next generation. So fasten your seatbelts, please. Thank you.
Well, talking of heavy price to pay, I think, Denise, you are one of the people who put their career on the table. We didn't see many business people. You as artist, you came out and you stood up. We're very keen to know, one, what you think of the movie, and then second, also update us on your status and the price you actually paid for the stance you took.
Right. I think I'm gonna keep it short. I feel like everyone's kind of tired right now. But first of all, I really like to thank Evans for documenting this whole these few months that is very important to the Hong Kong society, which I think no matter what happened in the end, like we were cleared off and everything, but I still think that it's a very important moment of awakening to at least a part of the Hong Kong society, which actually is, I feel, is ongoing still right now after 2 years. Even though, you know, there are different emotions that came along all this time, anger, disappointment, but I feel that the seeds were sown, and people are still trying to do different things in different areas in the society. And I have witnessed a lot of locals who are trying their best to, to do whatever they can in their everyday lives. Whether it's the youngsters who have, like Nathan and Joshua, that they're trying the best, and everyday people. So, and I apologize for not being able to make time for interviews, but I think it was a very good job and a very important movie for all of us. And on a personal note, I'm doing okay. I have just finished a very important concert in the Hong Kong Coliseum, and I think that was a very important event for at least a crowd of us that participated in this movement, because as a singer, I mean, me and Anthony, we're just trying to do our best to keep the hopes up, and with arts or culture, and we are not the only people doing that. We have people, Yu Fai, or people from Manfa Gambo, Hong Kong Shield, teachers, writers, musicians. We are just trying to do whatever we can to not let people give up. So, and I think the concert that was held in October, it was a moment of consolidation for this group of people, and I hope that there are other events to come and other moments of resistance or fighting that can consolidate these efforts and consolidate these people for the ongoing years. And I think it would happen, as long as we just keep our flexibility and we just keep our, our hopes up in our everyday lives. Yep.
I wonder if anybody here thinks that recent developments in the UK and the US, the fact that a lot of people found aggravating the results of the referendum in the UK and the presidential election in the US would undermine any argument for a Western-style democracy in Hong Kong.
Well, I'm very saddened by one thing, and that is truth doesn't seem to matter anymore. Brexit was achieved because of a lot of lies. Donald Trump got in because of a lot of lies. And people don't seem to value the truth anymore. That's the downside. But I'm confident about democracy. I believe that democracy, there is some inherent power of healing in democracy. I think Donald Trump will be a different man. You see, he told a lot of lies. He said a lot of awful things because he wanted that chair, the president's chair. Now that he's sitting in that chair, he's a worried man because he has to grow into the chair. He has to grow bigger. That's the power of the people. He has already changed his mind on a number of his promises in his campaign, right? I think he will abandon more of them. All these stupid things like the wall. I mean, even if he builds a whole wall, people can just dig a hole down there and get through. I mean, so he's going to abandon. He's going to abandon everything, I think. Now, I believe in this healing power of democracy because it's the people who will decide what he would do. So I'm confident that democracy will conquer all these things, ultimately. But in the meantime, I hope people will, the rest of us, it's not just them, because we have this gentleman in the Philippines too. He doesn't speak like a gentleman, all right? But okay, so it's happening all around the world. But people, the other people, collectively will treasure the truth, I hope. And politicians will learn that. You have Brexit, all right, but now people feel that they're cheated. When Donald Trump won, people feel they are cheated. And when C.Y. Leung won, we know we were cheated, but then we had no vote. So I think I agree with Emily. I think it will be very soon. You have your part two. If C.Y. Leung gets elected again, we have your part two.
I think for those people who argue against democracy in Hong Kong, they will seize on to Donald Trump or Brexit or the French referendum or whatever, because they are against it. And they will say, look, yeah, things are not working out that well over there. I say, you give me electoral college anytime. We can have 18 electoral colleges in Hong Kong, according to the 18 district councils. So, I mean, those people will seize onto anything and everything. But the most important thing is whether the Hong Kong people are also persuaded by what's happening around the world. Some are not. So it is important for us to keep telling the Hong Kong people that there may be all these things happening, but then, okay, maybe lies or no lies, but they voted. And the person is it legitimately elected? So what can you say? And look at what's going to happen in France next year, and also Germany if Angela Merkel is toppled. If Marine Le Pen gets elected as French president, what do you say? It's the people's will, unless you say the election was fraudulent. So I think it's important for us to explain to ourselves and the people around us what we think are our real values. And then when the time comes, if there's general election, for the people's wishes to prevail. It's sometimes you can't understand why people voted that way, how come that person got elected. But he or she's elected by the people. So, and there are many reasons why people did what they did, because they're very unhappy with the establishment. It's a worldwide thing. So I think we in Hong Kong really have to ask ourselves what we believe in and what we are prepared to do to defend those values, and not just sit there and say, oh dear, well, so I think, again, the people get the government they deserve.
Thank you. Because we want to close in maybe 10, 15 minutes, I would really like to ask the panel if they see and which, I mean, if they see a link, and which link is it between what happened 2 years ago and what's happening right now, even though it's not in the movie, or maybe it will be in the next one. But was this planned? Did you see such unexpected thing coming? Maybe Mr. Lee. Yeah, the interpretation and the whole oath taking, and the fact that this has really awakened a whole generation, and possibly in ways which were not expected.
Well, I suppose if you want a link, there is a link. And that is, we've been fighting for democracy under the promises of the Joint Declaration and the Basic Law, one country, two systems. We have never asked for more than what was already promised by Beijing, right? And I think Beijing is a little impatient, because we kept on abiding by their terms. We kept on playing the game according to their rules, and yet we keep on winning elections. Because every time there was elections in Hong Kong, in the Legislative Council, the candidates from the Democratic camp have always captured more votes than our opponents, the pro-Beijing people. Even now, every election. So I think they're getting a little impatient, they're getting a little worried because of the umbrella movement, which has attracted the attention and sympathy of the entire world. So they now change the rules, their own rules. Can you imagine that these two young legislators, now, people, a lot of my friends said, oh, they are naughty, they shouldn't have done that, they went too far. But think again, assuming these two young people had actually started a revolution and had actually murdered people, how would you deal with, say, two criminals? You prosecute them. That's all. But why would they interpret the Basic Law and thereby amending our local law, the Oaths and Declaration Ordinance, for the Hong Kong legislature? They had no business to interpret Hong Kong laws. I mean, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, they could only interpret the Basic Law, and they already changed our laws without going through the legislature. Now, how could that be justified? And then they put the blame on the two young people. I'm not too sure why the young two people did that. They may have been misguided, but for whatever reason, there's no justification for what they did, which is to interpret the Basic Law, which is contrary to the Basic Law, because they have no right to legislate for Hong Kong people. You see? I mean, even if they have committed murder, okay, charge them.
There is the Article 158, right?
Yeah,
Which was applied.
yeah, but wrongly. I mean, I would say the Standing Committee of the MPC has no power to amend the laws of Hong Kong. They can't amend the laws of Hong Kong, our local laws. They have absolutely no right. That power has been given to the Legislative Council only. The Legislative Council can amend our laws, right? But they did. So that is illegal by their own constitution.
Benny?
This time, Beijing is targeted at independence, opinions or views on independence. But if you look at the interpretation, the whole mechanism can be used to deal with people who support self-determination. Or it can be used to target against those who support genuine democracy. At some point of time, it can be targeted at those who are against Article 23 legislation, because that's part of the constitutional duty of Hong Kong to legislate Article 23, and you are against. When you run your campaign, you are against Article 23 legislation. So you are not upholding the Basic Law. It's all up to now the person who administered the oath to decide whether you are complying with the requirements of the oath that's upholding the Basic Law and showing the allegiance to the SAR government. So the problem of this incident, and actually from the documentary, Professor Hong Ho Fung from the Johns Hopkins talk about how China sees independence, pro-democracy, or self-determination. They are actually the same thing, but only of varying degree. So now they could use that to deal with independence. Now, a lot of Hong Kong people could not see that. They find that I'm not supporting independence, so it's not about me, so no problem of the interpretation. But then one day, self-determination, someday pro-democracy, someday even Article 23 objectives, they will be targeted. So it's a kind of a mechanism that can be easily used to control. That's worrying, and unfortunate that a lot of Hong Kong people could not see that. So you'll find that when we protest against the interpretation, we could not get that much support from the community. That's worrying, and yes, we are proud of our rule of law, but the understanding of rule of law is still, we still need to work harder to build up a stronger, better understanding about the rule of law.
Yes, sure, Claudia Moore. The mic is coming.
Can I have a tiny question for Joshua in particular? 10 years ago, my good friend, Professor Joseph Zheng, told the Financial Times that Hong Kong people love democracy, but they are not prepared to pay a price for it. That statement, do you think it's still applicable today? Do you think things have changed in your generation? question one, and a tiny linked question. Are you prepared to run the next LegCo election?
I doubt whether I will get the qualification to run in the next election or not. Today, they have disqualified those pro-independence politicians to be the candidate already. Maybe 4 years later, any activist or politician that upholds self-determination or maybe filibuster will be also disqualified, including you. Yeah. So I think it's the problem that need to face by whole of the pan-democratic camp. And if you ask,
Don't worry about me. Are you prepared to run?
I would say,
What they're going to do.
I would say that I prepare to pay the price to fight for democracy in the future. Whether it's necessary to prepare for any election campaign 4 years later, I think is too far away. In this stage, I think the most important thing is prepare for the next battle in the chief executive election. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of Hong Kong handover. It will be the time for us to reveal, for the international community to reveal on the implementation of one country, two system, and also a joint declaration. And Hong Kongers are also necessary to reflect on, in the past 20 years, we learned a lesson from the battle of anti-Article 23 and umbrella movement. In the next 30 years, towards the end of 50 years unchanged policy, how can we keep on and fight in the future? And refer to your question, how's my point of view for Hong Kongers? Are we ready to pay the price? I just remember in 1997, the year after I born, there's a cover story of Fortune magazine, Death of Hong Kong. I would say that even after the umbrella movement, it already proved the failure of one country, two system. It still haven't proved, or it can't say it's a death of Hong Kong. Because after the umbrella movement, we just recognize that how Hong Kongers with peace and non-violence, strike and civil disobedience are ready to pay the price and to fight for a better future, especially the new generation. That's why I always say that hope for the worst, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Yeah, and continue to fight in the future. And I believe if we create a miracle in 2014, in the future, just like Benny Tai mentioned, we can create second miracle. Yeah.
Well, let me answer that question for him. You asked him whether he's going to run for the next LegCo election. I say the answer is yes. He didn't answer that because he tried unsuccessfully, unfortunately, to challenge the law which restricts the age, all right, of a person running for elections. It has to be 21, not 18. Although when you're 18, you can vote. When you're 18, you can't run as a candidate in any elections in Hong Kong. Now, he already challenged that. That means he wants to be, he wants to run even now. But he can't say that to you. Once he says that he's going to run, then the election expenses already start building up.
I think we should just thank and congratulate Evans Chan for what he did. And
Yeah, I really, want to thank, everybody on stage and down there for coming to see the film and showing your support. Yeah, I really feel privileged to be able to make this film and collect such a wonderful assembly of people in it, in every sense. Thank you.
And just to thank our hosts and speakers, we usually hand out mugs or ties, but especially today we have taken out all our umbrellas. So one each. No, there is a bit of yellow on it. Yellow. But it's our original colors. So one each. And thank you very much, everyone. See you soon. You can use them, huh? It's two colors. Yes. Is one missing? We have everyone, right? Yeah.
all the people who contributed, who have acted in the... Yes?